Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Library Management System. And in this episode, we just want to do a simple thing right here on the lines. So we want to book the book, and then we ensure that the book that has been booked remain booked so that no one else can book the book. Anyway, don't worry about the English. It isn't my first language, but I swear that is the correct way of saying it. So we can go back to our code and try to get our hands dirty. So remember, in the related record from the booking right here, let me just show it here. We have this main record up here, which is the book lending, and then we have a related record. I'm going to start it over. We have this main record, which is a book lending. It's like you're applying for something from the library, which are the books. And then you have this related record. There's another table here and there's another table. This table, it is the table that has the information about the books that the patron wants to request for them. So now in this table, we are going to add another field that will store a status of that book so that we don't book the books that has been booked by another patron or another someone requesting for the same service. So we can go to the table, the table now having this data, which is the book, and then right under here, you can create another field. There's a snippet, the TF is a snippet for creating a new field, and then give an ID, hit tab, and then status. So it will store the status of our book, and then we have it as an option. Now we are into this error because we have not given a property known as the option members, which is very necessary. So we're going to have our option members as available, booked, issued, and maybe out of order for the books that maybe are destroyed or something like that. So we are only interested with the available books when we are booking, and then we mark those books as booked, and then we mark them as issued. That is after you get issued with the book. Let's say if someone click issue, then it will also issue this book and ensure that no one else will get the book out of the library. Now, we are not going to make it manual. I mean, we will first expose this field in the table, in not in the table but in the list. So our list was book lending lines. Yeah, right here. So down below this field there, after the IS and B field, we can add another field for status. Then we can give an application area to be basic set. So now we've added the field. So once we publish, we'll be able to see the field. But that is not what we want to achieve. What we want to achieve is that I want to I want to be able to change the status of this book. When someone clicks approve, I mean, when you submit a request and then someone else will approve, these things will also be hidden for some purpose, but some will be exposed depending on the status of this document. Now, if maybe librarian or library staff approve your request, then those books will be marked as booked so that no one else will book. So right here on this action, approve, we just go back to our book lending. Yeah, approve right here. We can have on top of the code that we're already running inside this action, we can still add something else to do with manipulation of a secondary record. So we can therefore create a variable right here. I mean, this is already a variable. We can create our own variable here. So there's a way you can create variables in a table. So I want us to create a variable for this record, the book lending line. So let's call it book, maybe lending line. So this will be a variable and it's a record of book lending line. So that is the record. So now we will run the code after the approve has been executed right here. Let's add our code right here. Let's say book lending line dot reset. So we reset any filters that have been reset. And then we want to set our own filters by using set range. Remember, set range is more effective than set filter. So we'll stick with the more effective one. So we want to set range. Arrange for this book. If we want only this book, remember we can have various lending requests from different people. So expect in this table, in this book lending line, expect to have various books which has been lended under different IDs. So we will filter this book using this ID, the lending number, which is the lending number. So, and it is also a field inside this table known as the lending number. So we will filter this. Remember, this field is inside this table, the book lending table, and we will filter alongside this field right here, the lending number. So we will include rec to mean the current record where our action is situated alongside the lending number. So we've filtered and uh, we've ensured that book lending line record line book lending line at this point only has records that only belong to that particular lending. So don't worry about a lot of complication, but I was trying to write a code to filter. So that is a set range. So I want to check if we in this book lending. Sorry, there was a typo. So I'm going to hit Control F and then maybe let me copy, then Control F, find, and then right here I can try to find that and then replace that with the correct one that has the right key. Now we have our book lending line. If we find sets, let's say if someone had already booked more than one book, so we're expecting to find a number of those. Then if we find it, then what do? We change the state of that book, that particular time, to a state that we want it to be. Now we are going to, when they hit approve right here, then we want to change the status of this book booked. Now, what we do is that we take our variable for the book lending line dot status, then we initialize that status with the same status in the same field, but different state. You're going to mark it as booked. So I think that is the end of it. So we are expecting that if we run approve, then this book will mark those books as booked. But remember, this will only work for the first book. If it has more books, then we need to introduce a repeat right here so that it loops. It will repeat until book lending line, until the records in this variable dot next is equals to 0. That means it will loop, it will book these books, all the books that fit into this filter several times depending on the number of books. If there are 3 books, it will loop this code 3 times, marking every book there as booked. Initially, oops, it doesn't seem to respect our command because we're supposed to, when we approve, it changes to booked. It appears we forgot something on this instruction. Yes, we are supposed to modify that record, this book line, lending line, modify. That is, we are supposed to change the state and ask it to do the modification. So we'll publish and so I will test to see if our changes made some changes. So we'll open our record, try to let's submit and then see if we can click approve. We're expecting here to change to booked. Approve, booked. Now that one has changed successfully, so we can also disable the editable property right here in this status so that nobody has to change it manually. And remember, our goal was to ensure that if a book has been booked, then no one else should book that book. So when you are selecting these lines, these books means all of them have either been booked or some have not been. So we will introduce a property in this field, the book number field, right here, the book number right here at the table relation, and then we will give a condition, give us a book where it is where status of that book equals to a constant of maybe available. So we only need to see the books that are available. So we'll publish. Okay, so we want to try using this book too, which has been booked already. Then we will create a new landing, maybe test two landing, and then we'll give a patron such as John. Okay, the other one was, I think the other one was John. So we have Jane, patron number 3, and then we can try to book which book was that? Should be book 3. Yeah, book 2. So let's see if we can see book 2 in the list. Yeah, it's right here. Okay, so remember this book has already been booked, so it should not appear at this point. Okay, book 2 is appearing at this point, and someone is able actually to book the book. Why? Because we never change the initial state of the books right here. We don't even have status to store the state of a book in this okay, it's actually available. So we don't have to actually have a mechanism to change the status of book 2 to booked. So we are going to go to this record, to the book record right here. Then we go to their status, available, lost, borrowed. Uh, so we've added one for the booked right before the borrowed. So we will go back to our code that we indicated in this part here, and then we will try to create a new variable. Let's make it a global variable for book. Let's call it book so that it doesn't collide with the actual record. So it's book. Now after we've booked this book, I want us to go to the book record, the books, then we reset. Then what we do, since the book has only one primary key, we'll just use get. You don't have to use set rules. If books.get, we want to get this book, that book that we are having at the book line dot number, the book number, that book right there. If dot get, then what we do, we will do two things. So we'll begin end, so that we can have like 2 lines. If it was online, we'll never do the begin and end. Now we'll let this books, under books, we'll go to books that status, and then we change the status of that book to something. So in this point, we will change the status to maybe booked. And then we must always, when we change a state, ensure that we modify that record. Right now, we have some code here. We have this where we are getting the books that has been booked in the list part. I'll just demonstrate that one by showing what is actually happening. We'll have this book here. This is a different record. It's a different table. So it has a different status. That's what we are doing at line 105. And we are actually trying to repeat so that if we have different books, we are able to get all those books and change their status. So it may not be so important to change the status, but what is important is this part right here, where we are changing the status of the actual book so that nobody books that book. So we'll see if that actually worked. So we'll test this part where we are trying to book the books, and we'll book this book again. So let's repeat the process. So it's booked. So we can confirm from the books. That was book 2. Can confirm from the books whether it has actually changed its status. Booked. Yeah, right here it has changed it to booked. So we don't expect to see book 2 when somebody is trying to book. So let's go to our landing list number 4. So the landing number, we'll just delete this one so that we can demonstrate by selecting. You can see the book 2 is missing from the list for the reason that it has already been booked by this other different booking. So in our next video, we will explore how we can write this code and a code unit, or rather using a code unit to ensure that you can have a code that you can still reuse in different pages or different objects. So for now, thanks for watching and following up to this end. Please look forward for better videos and getting to finish up this project.